Survival games, once kind of a trend, have trudged on to become a compelling game genre. And in 2021, there's quite a variety of new survival game experiences you're going to want to check out. So here are 10 or so of the survival games to look forward to throughout the year. Starting off with number 10, let's talk Icarus, which is from developer-publisher Rocketworks, the people behind DayZ. Well, it seems like for a couple of years now, they've been taking their DayZ money, and they've been tinkering with some really cool, creative new game ideas, and Icarus seems to be the product of that. While at first glance, first-person gameplay here, you might think it's just another game where you chop down a tree and survive. The actual concept around it is really cool. Essentially, it's a free-to-play, multiplayer, co-op survival game that has persistent progression. Their description is actually pretty interesting. So while navigating each prospect's unique challenges, players must collect meta resources to permanently progress, create advanced technologies, and take on longer missions. They describe it better than I can, but that sounds really cool. Permanent progression, permanent resource gathering. Just Dean Hall and Rocketworks trying to take a little bit of a different spin on things. I welcome that, and I'm looking forward to seeing how Icarus really goes down. Next, over at number 9, we have Little Devil Inside, which made a big splash last year during all the next-gen console reveals. People saw gameplay of this game and immediately all collectively went, whoa, cool, what the hell is that? Little Devil Inside looks to be a bit different compared to the other games on this list. It's less survival, more just kind of action-adventure, fun indie-style game, but still, it looks like it's going to mix survival and simulation mechanics in a more accessible way. The developers have said that, you gathering stuff to survive isn't like the core main element of the game, it's just part of many things. It's really just you trying to survive a level or a mission that you go out and embark on, more than just the entire game just being about you surviving in general, if that makes sense. But from what we've seen, most of it is going to be you getting water to survive and chopping wood to make a fire, dealing with nature, the weather, elements, and creatures. And you know what? This looks pretty damn awesome, and it is apparently releasing this year on all the major consoles and PC, July 2021. Next, over at number 8, we have Winter Survival Simulator. This is a PC-only survival game focusing around, you guessed it, surviving in harsh winter climate. There is a bit of a story set up to it. Basically, you and some friends go on a hike to Mount Washington State Park until things go awry and you fall off a cliff and you're lost and stranded. You have none of your equipment and it's freezing cold. So of course it's up to you to scrounge up some equipment and survive and get to an abandoned ranger station. So of course you're gonna have to worry about getting food, drinking water, all that basic survival stuff, but also your sanity meter, as well as fending off hypothermia. It does seem pretty cool and fairly comprehensive. As of right now, it is slated for release in 2021, and there's a demo available on Steam right now, and it seems like people are responding positively to it. We've seen a lot of people playing it on social media. It's a little rough around the edges like a lot of Steam survival games, but the inventory management is cool, and just the Arctic weather theme is interesting, and we're excited to see where this one goes. Next, over at number 7, we have State of Decay 3. Undead Labs has really kind of figured out a very cool new spin on the post-apocalyptic zombie survival crafting thing, and we're really excited to see how they change it up in 3, because State of Decay 2 really grew into its own after release and got updated and became pretty interesting, and we're just excited to see where they can take it next. And I say that because as of the time of making this video, all we really have still is that winter-themed cinematic teaser trailer. Doesn't tell us much, maybe that there's zombie animals this time around. Still, we're thinking this might be a big one, so fingers crossed it's great. And fingers crossed we definitely get it this year. Next, over at number 6, we have Dead Matter. Now, we've talked about this one quite a bit. I think we've done actually a couple of videos focusing on it solely because it's an incredibly ambitious sounding game, and they've been working on it for a very long time. There's a big history behind this one. This is an open world survival horror survival type game with an emphasis on kind of hardcore simulation and realism. Basically, if you are into something like Escape from Tarkov, this might be the open world zombie survival game you're looking for. It was completely crowdfunded many years ago, meaning a lot of people believe in this and also just want to see this idea come to fruition and play it because they ponied up a bunch of cash for it. You're going to be able to play online and scavenge for supplies and build stuff up with your friends. And the game is leaving alpha and heading into early access in 2021. Next, over at number 5, we have Away, the Survival series. This is a survivor game that was revealed with a really cool trailer, and essentially the game is inspired by nature documentaries. This is an indie game, and the concept is really cool. Essentially, you're this little sugar glider guy, and it's up to you to flee from a big storm that is hitting your lands. You're gonna have to glide, you're gonna have to climb, you're gonna have to run as a little agile guy and outwit predators and the elements, and it just seems really creative and cool, and that's why we're highlighting it, because yes, in this game, you're not gonna be chopping down trees or collecting diamond resources or anything like that, but you are literally trying to survive. It's a survival game, and we wanted to just kind of take a break and highlight something a little bit more unique. Away, the Survival series looks like it's going to release on PC and PlayStation this year. Next, over at number 4, we have Undying. Not to be confused with the early 2000s Clive Barker horror game, The Undying is a different type of horror. Essentially, you play as a woman in a post-apocalyptic zombie plague who has been bitten and her time is limited, but she's also traveling around with a child, and it's up to you to keep that child alive, teach them skills, do a lot of the survival game mechanic style stuff, but in a different setting, a different tone, a different atmosphere, and a little bit of a story touch. Personally, I think that sounds really cool. Yes, the visual style is a bit more indie focused, but the idea, the concept behind it sounds really awesome and like something we haven't played before in this survival zombie apocalypse type thing. This was actually slated to be released in 2020, but it did get delayed, and we're gonna see it this year. Next, down to number 3, we have Sons of the Forest. Now, of course, we wouldn't have a survival game list without mentioning the spin-off game of the survival series, The Forest. With this new game, it seems less like you're stuck in the woods and you're figuring it out, and more like you're journeying into the woods. But you're gonna have to do all that survival stuff, forage for supplies, build a little fortified base either alone or with friends, all while you know there's creepy stuff out there lurking. Then of course you gotta fight those bad things off. This looks like a much more realized, more in-depth, a bigger version of The Forest, and we're looking forward to seeing it hopefully this year. Next, down to number 2, we have The Day Before. This is a new open world survival MMO that takes place in America after a pandemic, fittingly enough, and there's zombies. And I'll be honest, it looks a little bit derivative of something like The Division. You walk around these empty city streets, there's leftovers of a Christmas season, and you look for loot and you do all that stuff. But the addition of zombies, surviving waves of them that can come running when they hear sounds, and of course other players out in the world in this more MMO style world makes it sound like it could be pretty cool. A lot of these ideas have been done before, but not all completely coupled together like this. It's also third person, which is really nice as a fan of third person games. Some of the early gameplay we have seen does look pretty exciting, does look pretty thrilling and higher budget. We're just hoping this game can really nail its lofty premise because it looks ambitious. If it's like The Division and The Last of Us and multiplayer MMO survival combined, it's a good idea. We just hope it works. And we really hope we get to see it sometime this year because as of right now, it is slated for 2021. And finally, at number 1, you guessed it, Valheim, the newest kid on the block, the game that is really kind of taking the world by storm with record sales numbers and Twitch streams in a limited amount of time. We think for good reason. It's very simple, it's Viking themed, but at the end of the day, it's just a very well-made survival game so far. It is still in early access, but for once, refreshingly, it doesn't feel like it's in early access. The developers have said that they're still spending another year working on this game, adding more monsters, more weapons, all types of things like that, but the game on its own right now is fun. It's a simplified survival game, but with an emphasis on PvE, messing around with your friends, building out large mead halls and farms, and eventually making boats and venturing out even further, fighting monsters, all of course rooted in Norse mythology. Couple that with a very interesting visual design. A lot of people dismiss it as just bad graphics, but on a high-end machine with a high resolution and good lighting, you can tell that this is a really creative art style that's kind of like a new spin on retro graphics. Overall, so far, it is a ton of fun, and we were genuinely surprised, as we're often skeptical of survival games, and especially early access ones, but Valheim is no joke. Those are all the survival games we think are worth paying attention to in 2021, but we got a couple of extra bonus games for you, including Wild by famous game developer and creator of Rayman and Beyond Good and Evil, Michel Ancel. He has actually left game development, and that's already after this project has been in the works for a really long time. You were supposed to play as like a Neolithic man in ancient history, fighting for survival, using the environment to your advantage and stuff like that, but like with a really cool creative art style and spin on the whole thing. But again, it's gone kind of radio silent. Then we have Small Land, another survival game, kind of like Grounded. The concept is you're a very, very, very small person and you have to forage for supplies and survive. Stop me if you've heard that a million times in this video. But last but not least, we have Outpost Glacier, where you're sent to work on an abandoned northern outpost. The problem here, though, is that the outpost is surrounded by frozen tundra. So to survive, you gotta gather resources, scavenge for food, and making sure that the outpost has power and keeps you warm. These are the survival games that we think are worth looking forward to in 2021. Hopefully they all release this year. Of course, other bigger games like Ark 2 aren't releasing until 2022, but we think this year, 2021, is still chock full of stuff. So we want to hear from you guys in the comments what you're looking forward to playing the most. If you enjoyed this video though, and maybe learned about a new game to look forward to, clicking the like button is the best way you can help us out. We would really, really appreciate that. But if you're new, consider subscribing, maybe hitting that notification bell, because we put out videos every single day. But either way, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.